an entire curriculum for a year, like 2 semesters, you can learn compressed in just one night. That's what a hackathon can do to you. And a lot of projects you make, like build up hackathons, can go places. So honestly, for me, that's why I used to attend. So every weekend in the US, I used to attend a hackathon. Like we would travel to within. So my university was in Ohio. We would attend within Ohio, and certain cases we have actually driven like 15, 24 hours to another state and attended hackathons there. So there was one like we went like to other side of the US, attended a hackathon there. So that's what we used to do every weekend. And like our university used to like give permission for this. Like so we had our own club, like a computer science club, and the university just used to pay for a travel. They're like, go there, represent a university, or just represent yourself, build something cool. And that's how it came to be. And I think X is like the online. I know a lot of people see X, Twitter, as like a social media platform. But for me, I think it's a platform where I can like build a lot of meaningful connections. I can.
So, hi. So, hi everyone. So, today we have an epic guest joining us today. We have Amrit Sheneva of Flashmates, Tulu AI, Harmat, and so much more. So, hi Amrit. So, firstly, I wanted to dive deep on the origin story of Flashmates and its connection to Kent State University. Like, I'm curious, like, why did you decide to join Kent State University as well, given that you have grown up in Dubai? And, like, how did you find out about Kent State University?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast, and I'll just get rid of your notifications. So so for me, I wanted to do a course where it had a mixture of like entrepreneurship and also like computer science, because I'm an entrepreneurial guy, and at the same time I love tech. So I wanted a course where it's a combination of that. So I applied to a bunch of universities where it was, but my focus on was on like Kent State, Syracuse, and like an Ivy League university. But the Ivy League definitely was not like it was way out of my league because they had some extra requirements. And also Syracuse, another problem was that I was like a type of a transfer student. I did 2 years in Dubai, so I wanted my next 2 years in the US, because those are the universities where I was able to do this at the time. Right now, we have courses like this across. Even in India, we have such courses. So I got into Syracuse. Unfortunately, they did not accept my credits. Like they told, like if you come to Syracuse, you have to do from the beginning because they did not accept my credits. Luckily, I found Kent State. They came to Dubai at an education fair. Got to know that they have the courses that I want, like and I can do a mixture of entrepreneurship, computer science. So applied, got in, and that's how my story started with Kent State University. So sorry for that. So how Flashmate started was basically one annoying problem that I saw in like Kent State, not just like Kent, like international students in general, was that, but let's say if you're not from the US and if you're not like coming from India, coming from another country, a major problem is that you'll probably look for off-campus housing. Now, when you look for off-campus housing, you'll go through like a bunch of platforms. You don't know if it's genuine, if the listing is genuine. How far is it from the university? And like you have to look at all these criteria, and it's like expensive because a lot of people don't know this, but you can actually share a room. Like two people can live in one bedroom. So it becomes more expensive for the international student when they come there and they realize, oh my god, like if I knew and understood the housing market better, I could have found something. So just for fun, I built this platform, launched it within like the first 15 minutes. We had like 150 signups and like already one listing on the platform. So I was like, okay, this has some potential. Then I just like shared it across. It was just gaining momentum, and that's how it started. How the name Flashmates came to be is like, so you know, the Kent State University, the students like are called Golden Flashes. So Flash from Golden Flashes, and mates from roommates. So that's how Flashmates came to be. The reason why I did not change the name is because like I've been building this for 2 years, most for Kent State students, and like the rental market in the US, like for international students, it just got stuck. Like people know the name Flashmate, so all of a sudden, if I change it, it's gonna confuse everyone. Like a name change is like a huge decision, and also when the name's already known by a lot of people and you're changing it, it's like a major confusion. So that's why I changed the name. I mean, that's why I've not changed the name, and that's why Flash.
Yeah, so as I was saying, so Flashmates has had an absolutely incredible kind of journey on X, and I've seen you posting a lot and a lot of like under everybody's like I'm trying to get a house post. You're like really organically pushing your thing and what you're trying to build. So let's talk a bit about how do you get the most out of your college experience. And I saw somewhere that you participated in over 200 hackathons. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah,
like
that's right.
how did you find those opportunities in your college, and how did you kind of discover that hackathons was a thing?
So one thing I love about hackathons is that they're the place where you can actually do a lot of things. You can build your dream project. You can actually learn a lot of new technologies. You can actually connect with people. So a lot of my friends you see on X, on Twitter, I met them through hackathons. I think that's even how I know you, because I think some hackathon posts like nights and weekends, will space, they're doing all this sport through someone I got from about you, and that's how I know you. But the thing with hackathons is that like you can learn a lot. Like let's say an entire curriculum for a year, like 2 semesters, you can learn compressed in just one night. That's what a hackathon can do to you. And a lot of projects you make, like build up hackathons, can go places. So honestly, for me, that's why I used to attend. So every weekend in the US, I used to attend a hackathon. Like we would travel to within. So my university was in Ohio. We would attend within Ohio, and certain cases we were actually driven like 15, 24 hours to another state and attended hackathons there. So there was one like we went like to outside the US, attended a hackathon there. So that's what we used to do every weekend. And like our university used to like give permission for this. Like so we had our own club, like a computer science club, and the university just used to pay for a travel. They like go there, represent a university, or just represent yourself, build something cool, and that's how it came to be. And I think X is like the online. I know a lot of people see X Twitter as like a social media platform, but for me, I think it's a platform where I can like build a lot of meaningful connections. I can connect with people, and also it's like a mini hackathon happening right there on X. Like every time you see, hey, I built this thing, a lot of people just like sh- uh, sharing feedback on how you can make it better. So honestly, I feel like hackathons, X, and the whole community, like even Discord, we have a bunch of communities. There's like, I think Build Space started on Discord, I'm not sure. But honestly, like if you know how to leverage it, it can help you a lot. And the reason why I basically post on X is because I noticed one thing. A lot of people, when they look for housing, they don't go to these platforms. They first come to WhatsApp, or like Discord or Twitter. And most of them come to Twitter. And they know that these bots exist. So every time when someone posts, hey, I'm looking for housing, I just go all out and like, hey, I built a platform. This exists. It's time for you to like just use my platform. And one advice that I've got is be shameless. Like you built a platform, that's fine. You built an app, that's fine. But if you want people to use it, go out and tell your story. So be shameless, tell your story. And this advice was given to me by like Replit CEO Amjad. Like he told me there's like we had a session like as part of Replit Ventures, and that's when he told like one advice: be shameless. Like tell your story as much as you can. Like, don't worry about like if you think it's spam, because people have to know that you exist. So that's how it came to be.
Yeah, so let's riff on that a bit. Let's talk a bit about, kind of how do you build meaningful connections on X? How do you build meaningful connections on Discord communities, other communities? And what are some of those top communities that come top of mind for you, like where you can meet these amazing builders and people that are doing uh, absolutely insanely ambitious stuff?
Sure. So honestly, I don't know how to really figure out. Just like publish. So the build in public, I think KP. That's the name. I think you had KP on a pod. So KP is the one who basically came up with this build in public mindset, the build in public approach. So what he would do is basically you build something, you make something, you share the progress on Twitter, and like it's okay if it's like not even complete. Like even if it's not an MVP, like share on Twitter, make it public. People will come to you. For me, honestly, I'm still actually figuring out like how do I have so many good friends from Twitter? Like how do you meet them in the first place? So there are actually a bunch of communities out there. Back then, we had this community called You Are Fun, and this I was not in India at the time. I was in the US studying. So You Are Fun, the store's co-founder Raj, he was the one who came with You Are Fun with along with his another co-founder. So in You Are Fun, we basically got the best folks from India, like the young kids who are interested in building projects and all this stuff. They had a community on Discord. They had a mini community on WhatsApp, and that's how I got in touch with the first few folks that I know. And apart from that, we have like a bunch of communities in San Francisco as well. You don't need to be physically present there, but virtually as well, you can be part of it. For example, Build Space is one major example of this. Like I was a part of Build Space like nights and weekends, even before it went mainstream. Like I went for the IRL, the second for the season 2. There was just 120 of us. That's it, 120 folks in the mini. It was like right now it's like in the hall. They actually rent out the entire auditoriums, but they actually have this mini hall in Founders Inc. where they would go. It's just 120 of us crammed into one room. So over there, like it goes from virtual to IRL, and then you get into other communities. Another community that I'm a part of is called Beyond Deck (ODF). So On Deck Founders is actually one is probably one of the most impactful communities out there, because like The co-founder of it, his name is Eric Torenberg, Julian Weiss. They're all like notable angel investors in the Bay Area. So if you're a part of these communities, it's very easy to get in touch with folks. And another one that I was a part of, and it's not really a community, I would say, like a pre-accelerator program. It's called Replit Ventures. So Replit, the company, notable ID, they had this pre-accelerator program. So let's say if you're an idea or a project that you're working on, but you want guidance on how to take it forward, like from idea to product to company, they had this community for you. And it's not like a community, like a like there's no definitive way to say what it is, because you actually get grant funding and you also get mentorship, but it's not really the accelerated program. So I was a part of that, and that gave me a lot of visibility for my project. So leveraging all these, I try to like make the best out of it and get in touch with more people, and also like leverage my existing connections. Like for example, um, I'm interested in hard, like I'm not really working on any hardware projects, but I'm quite interested in knowing about robotics. So leveraging all these communities, I got in touch with like Abhinav Das of Orangewood, and yeah, basically you make connections, leverage the existing connections out to make more connection. That's it. And just be real, be yourself, and don't fake it. Like just be yourself, make mistakes, because a lot of people out there are forgiving. They want to help you, they want to help you make progress. Because Flashmates, when it started, initially was only close off to my, the students of my university. But after started building out in public, the design has improved a lot. I made a lot of connections. Even like a lot of people who have used Flashmates as a customer, as a user, they're actually good friends with me. Because for me, I strongly believe in like creating value for everyone. So I think create value, make progress, and like don't just be in, like some people have this intention, like motive, like okay, I'm gonna be your friend, I'm gonna try to use, like don't be like that. Try to see how both of you can benefit each other, because it needs to be mutual. So yeah, that's how I think would be the best way to make meaningful connections.
Yeah, I think that was some extremely interesting and solid advice, and I loved your point on kind of mutual value add. So, let's talk about how did the kind of growth of Flashmates contribute to the growth of your own podcast, your own networks, your own kind of thing, and like where did this idea of I'm a coconut start from? Like, how did you get this idea to like get into podcasting?
uh this is a very funny story, funny sad story. So for me, podcasting, basically I was a part of this thing called Toastmasters back in Dubai. It was this thing where it's like a public speaking organization. So you basically meet twice a month in a certain area, and like it's like a 2.5 hour meeting. You basically give speeches. So I was quite obsessed with that, and I was a part of the debate team in my high school. So once all this happened, like I moved to the US, it was COVID. I wanted to attend Toastmasters, but it was like there was none happening, and I didn't know any clubs near to me. Like even though it was virtual, so I was like, what if I can talk? What if I can create value? And at the time, I was in New York, like New York State, and it was unfortunate at the time had one of the highest cases. So just to uplift people, spread some positivity, I started this thing called I'm a Coconut podcast. So I'm a Coconut was a speech I gave during Toastmasters, which ended up winning an award. And I actually have a video about it where I talk about. But basically, the whole concept is that if you take a look at coconuts, there's like two parts of it: the inner part, the outer part. The inner part is like soft, sweet. They like the water part, and like the white color, the coconut meat. It's super sweet, very soft. But if you look at the outside, it's super hard. Like you have to take like a knife or like a lot of tools to crack open a coconut. So it basically like be strong, but inside be like be the child within, but always be strong. Do not give up. Do not let any situation break you down. Like you're a coconut. That's the whole concept. But basically, it stemmed from that speech, and that speech is based on like a bunch of situations that happened in my life. So I just like bottled up all the emotions, made the speech, realized it has potential, made this podcast, and that's how it grew. But as of recently, the podcast has been growing exponentially. I have no clue why. I haven't even marketed. I haven't told anyone. It's just like growing on its own. So that's how I got involved with podcasting. I'm also passionate about tech, which is why I'm trying to talk more about tech. Like I started a new podcast called the Amrit Sheneva podcast, where I'll be talking about tech, trying to introduce startup founders. And yeah, basically that's the whole point. But I believe that if you are into podcasting, it can like exponentially grow your connection, exponentially grow your entire audience. Because like if you take a look at like there's a guy called Dwarkesh, he has been interviewing a bunch of folks. It's been going well. Even for you, you haven't. I think you have interviewed a lot of like. I think you interviewed Andrew from Wonder. You introduced Dilip from Rain Matter. You introduce a lot of cool folks. So it's basically leveraging your connection, but it's also helping you build more connections also. help you building an audience. So let's say in the future, right now you're basically doing a podcast, but in the future, you can probably start your own company or your VC fund. For example, take a look at, I keep forgetting his name, for 20 VC. Josh. That's his name? No, Josh from 20 VC? Is that his name?
No, no, it's Harry Stebbings.
Yeah, Harry Stebbings. He started out a podcast from his mother's bedroom, interviewing, like, he was basically talking about tech and startups, venture capital, the world of fundraising, all those stuff. But eventually, after a while, it grew super big that now they have their own fund. 20 VC has their own fund where they invest. Even Acquired FM, they basically started a podcast where they talk about business in general. Right now, they have their own fund and they are interviewing people like Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. They interview Jensen Huang. So basically, it's a great way to build an audience, and doesn't matter what you're doing in life, but podcast can like rapidly accelerate your growth.
Yeah, I also observed that as well. Like, because I've hosted so many podcasts and I hosted my first in person podcast as well. And because I was on the ground in Bangalore, my connections in Bangalore significantly increased a lot. So I knew more people over there in Bangalore than I probably know back home here in Singapore. And it's because I haven't been as obsessed with like finding the new startup event or like doing this startup thing, that startup thing. So I think I have to get back in the game here, like just start being more involved with the ecosystem and doing more things. So my next question is like, so you have this new idea which is the Indian Optimism newsletter and podcast. So on that topic of podcasting, like what's your vision like behind this podcast Indian Optimism, and like who are your first few guests, like if you could share at all, or who are you trying to invite?
Indian Optimist is just like an experiment, a weekend experiment, like a nights and weekends experiment. Basically, it's not really a podcast for now, just a newsletter, because getting a podcast, I realized in India, everyone's super busy. Trying to get a guest is super hard. So in the newsletter, basically, I talk about the startup ecosystem in India, what's going on, but my main focus is on like Silicon Beach, because a lot of people talk about like San Francisco Bay Area, they talk about like London being a tech hub, they talk about Bangalore as a tech hub, but no one's actually talking about the other cities up in India. Like for example, okay, I'm gonna tell my example later, but there's a city called Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. It's not even, it's like a few miles, a few hours away from Chennai, but there's actually a lot of harvest startups in Coimbatore. In Delhi, like if you go to Delhi, outside on the outskirts, you'll find a lot of startups there. And there's another place called Tenkasi in like Tamil Nadu. It's a remote village, but apparently Tenkasi is home to. It's being run from a remote village in Tamil Nadu. So, yes, sorry for that. So, if you take a look at like Zoho and all these things, they're all being run from like remote villages, like towns you might never have heard of. So, my goal is to focus on these areas, talk about them, write about them, and try to build my connections with that, because like I feel like no one talks about the Indian tech system that much. Even if they do, it's filled with a lot of negativity. Like they talk about it, but it's filled with a bunch of negative. Like we need our own media. So have you heard of Pirate Choirs in by Mike Solana?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't actually consumed any of the content from there, but I've heard of Mike Solana. He's the partner or whatever. It's
Founders
something at
Fund.
Founders Fund. Yeah.
He's a VC. He's a tech entrepreneur, and on the side he runs his. So with Indian Optimist, my goal is to basically be like the Pirate Choirs, but the tech part, not the everything else. The tech part, but for India. And my goal is to like cover everything, and like so I dropped a new article called the Silicon Beach, the Beach of Builders, just a few days back, and that got a lot of good response. So my entire vision goal with that is like to be a positive tech media focusing on the Indian tech scene, not for the Indian audience but for the global audience. Like we need to tell our own story, we need our own media, and I think media is very important. Like you have your own tech, but you even need your own media, because media acts like a distribution, a way through which you can connect with your audience, with your like intended potential users or customers. So that is also very important as well. So that's the whole goal, like try to build a tech ecosystem with all the startups, with all the projects, with all the apps, and on the other side a media ecosystem, for example your own distribution network. Because no matter what you do, let's say if you're a tech entrepreneur, a podcaster, or a media person, distribution matters a lot, because you need people coming into your app, you need users for your app. That's important. So building an app is fine. Building all the, like, you know how to code, that's fine, that's great. You publish an app, that's great. It has cool design, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you need people coming in, you need money coming in, and the only way through this possible is distribution. So I'm trying to focus more on distribution, and that's why I'm doing all this on the side.
Yeah, that's really amazing that, like, you have such a knack for like finding new ideas. So how do you come up with all these ideas, like Indian optimism? Like, how do you find these problems and these solutions? And like, how can someone, like, I guess, how can they start to like get in the industry without any like tech or like any coding skills? Like, how can they upskill, how can they learn? And yeah, that's kind of like what the question.
I don't know if I'm the best person for that because I don't actually work the job. But honestly, from what I feel is that like coming with ideas, like getting a career, I'm the best person because I've been doing this for a while now. But when it comes to getting ideas, I think it stems from your own problems. For example, let's say the reason why I came up with Flashmates is because I faced a problem as a college student in the US. That's how Flashmates came up. And you probably have seen this tool translator that I built. It's that came up because like back then during COVID, when things were happening, everyone on Zoom, I realized a lot of the translation products out there, they target a much global audience, but they don't target like a core regional audience. And what I mean by core regional audience is, for example, if you take a look at India, we're relying on these products, but they have a data set that's not really focused on India. It's focused more like from an American context. What if there's a data set or like a tool through which that's built from an Indian context? So let me take an example. Like you go to Zoom, like let's say in Riverside right now, we're having this podcast session. Now you're talking, I'm talking, and my language is Tulu. You're talking in English or let me whatever language you're talking in. If someone who does not know the language and they want to have a session, we first of all like write down it's going to translate. What if in real time the translation happens? So basically, that's why I came up with the idea for the tool translator. Like, what if we had a translator that's built from an Indian context and focuses on languages that do not have existing translate support? And even like the one that I talked, the HireMart one that I was talking about, the hiring platform, the, that basically came up because back then I was applying for internships. Unfortunately, it was during COVID when I was applying for internships, and like it was super hard to get one. And unfortunately, one of the biggest problems like with hiring platforms back then was that like they have this thing called the ATIS system. It would take a look at the resume, like figure out the keywords, and then basically help people get hired. But you're getting hired basically on like the keywords of your resume. So there's a flaw in the ATIS system. What if you can remove the flaw? What if you can remove the ATIS system and focus completely on proof of work? Like if you take a look at websites like workatastartup.com, it's a platform for Y Combinator where you can work at companies backed by Y Combinator like YC. They don't have any resume system. It's basically you DM the founder, you let them know what skills you have, and based on the skills you have, like you do the assessment. That's how you get an interview with them. Because I've gone through those platforms, I've never uploaded resume. I haven't even mentioned that I have like these educational qualifications, but I was able to crack interviews on that platform. So this is actually the future. So I always believe in like instead of like when you face a problem, instead of like complaining or like telling that okay things aren't working out, find a way through which you can come up with a solution for the problem and then focus on that. It's gonna be hard because like building a startup, building an app, trying to get users is gonna be super challenging because you come up with an idea, you come up with an app, then try to get users. It's gonna be challenging, but it's gonna be worth it. So see a problem, don't complain. Think about like all possible ways that you can solve this. Like, does a incumbent solution exist? If it doesn't exist, what are the flaws? Go research on what people think about those products. Do they need an existing product? If yes, focus on that. And even if like you have a competing product, focus on the comparative advantage. Like why do you exist? Because even with Flashmates, we have a lot of competitors, but why we're different? That's a question that matters a lot. So all in all, I think ideas ideas can come from anywhere. The only thing is that focus on it being solving an important problem or making this existing process more efficient. Another advice I want to get, not like an advice but an insight, is that in Twitter, I don't know Twitter is the right place where this happens, but if you go to platforms like YouTube and all those stuff, a lot of people, I will teach you how to come up with an idea. But it's basically like a masterclass on how to make like double X your money, like give us money, double X. Like don't come up with a startup idea with the sole purpose of making money. Come up with a startup idea that it can create value for others. So I think come up with ideas, but focus on how it can create value, how it can solve problems, how it can like make an existing process more efficient, and also focus on monetization. But and at the end of the day, even if this is even if you leave this aside, the most important code you have to crack is distribution. I think that's the most challenging part. Like letting the world know that you exist or trying to reach your target customers, I think that's the most challenging part. So, yep.
Yeah, so yeah, super amazing insights that you've shared today, and yeah, it's just amazing to like see your journey on X, and like how. So like my next and last question is like, so let's riff a bit on like how did Build Space change your life, and like what advice do you have for people that have like applied for Build Space season 5, and yeah.
Oh, sorry. So, Bill Space, I would say like uh, do you know how Bill Space started? Like, do you know how this started the platform?
Mm, not entirely. I've only been following Bill Space for like last 1 year maybe, or a few months in fact. So I don't really know much about Bill Space as a program.
So, it is a very weird and funny story. So, Bill Space started out this thing called Zip School, and it's like a homeschooling startup back then. And it actually worked out quite well. And like Farza, he has like one of the best he has one of the best he gave lecture on distribution, and I think that is very impactful. But apart from Zip School, he basically started this thing called like Build Space, but it's not the Build Space we know as just like the nights and weekends. So it was like a platform where you could learn coding. You learn coding, but you get incentivized. For example, you can earn your first crypto, you can get an NFT and all those stuff. So when Build Space started back then, it was like a platform where you start these not like I wouldn't say a course, but you start these like sessions where you learn, and at the end it's like proof, like you do it, like you don't basically sit in the lecture and like oh that do a lecture and then they teach you, like you have to do it yourself, like you have instructions given, you do it, and every time you upload your progress update you get incentivized, like you have to show that you have learned something. So that's how it started back then. And later on this came over the nights and weekends back in 2022. At the, when season 1 was happening, I was doing Repl Ventures, but I was not really sure. Like I didn't know that we can actually do both at the same time. But back then it was only for Web3 and crypto. Later on, they opened it up for everyone. But that Build Space basically helped me like get a lot of users for Flashmates. And in fact, if you take a look at this, we have this product called Subletter SF. It's like a Twitter bot. Let's say you have a sublet in San Francisco, and if you want to sublet out, you can actually tag this bot and retweet it. So how this changed my life is basically, apart from making the meaningful connections, it helped Flashmates a lot. Like for us, most of our users and I would say customers come through like Build Spaces network, because the IRL that happened in like the, I mean back then it was just founders Inc., but now that happens over there. So I went for the IRL, got to travel around San Francisco, realized that this is a big problem with their like sublets, and also realized like a bunch of the platforms that we know are not allowed there. So we figured out a way through which we can comply with the law and also make this work. And that's how like Subletter was born. And in fact, one of the like when they started the school, Will Space School, there was a person who was looking for housing on the platform. And this was when I launched like Subletter back then, like so the bot and like I like marketed over there. There's one person looking for housing on the platform, and I get a email and a text message like within like an hour, like after the create account, that they found a sublet. I was like, wow, wait, what? Like I was shocked, I was surprised. So that's how it basically helped me. Like it also not just me, but also like it helps spread awareness for Flashmates, our products, our platform, and it basically helped me get in touch with the SF tech ecosystem. Like being in person in San Francisco changes your life. Like one thing I would recommend people is that like travel to these tech hubs, like go to Bangalore, go to San Francisco, meet with people, attend the events, because once you're there physically in person, when you present there, it's like I don't know the exact like there was a statement someone made. I'm trying to think about that, but like network effects. If you take a look at network effects, like it matters a lot. Like it basically accelerates your entire progress. So and not just that, I got to meet with a bunch of other people over there as well. Like I got to meet Furkan from Third Web, then the founder of Lexica. A lot of people I met them in person. It basically changed a lot of things, and those people in turn, like for example, tell it to others. So Flashmates has a bunch of users in Canada. This happened because I met a bunch of people from Canada over there in like who came for the event in Build Space. Like um, I'm forgetting what the names are, but it's thanks to these like events, meeting all these people, that you meet more people and they actually spread the word. So right now, if you go to Twitter, a lot of the people who I met through these things, they actually tag these bots. They actually tag the bot. They keep sharing my posts and they keep telling, hey, there's this platform called Flashmates, you can check it out. So that's how it has changed my life. And honestly, I think we need more such communities here in India as well. Like, because like of course not everyone can go to San Francisco, not everyone can come to the country. So honestly believe we need such communities like globally as well. Like one where you go in person, you can meet such people. Thankfully here in Mangalore we have a lot of communities like that, quite helpful. But yeah, all these are important and IRL connections are very, very important.
Yeah, I'd have to say plus one on that. Like IRL connections have been extremely important for me. Like
You have seen it.
everything I've accomplished is because of the IRL connections or the online connections that I've made. Especially in Bangalore where I didn't know anybody much because of Fueler and because of like other communities, writing on X, having people that I knew in Bangalore. I was able to execute my first online offline event as well in Bangalore. Like so I hosted Siddhartha of the Neon Show and
Yeah.
Fun, and so that episode is actually going to be coming out soon. But on the topic of events, are you planning any time to come to Singapore? Because in September I heard Naval is coming and
What's recall?
Balaji's and like a lot